So one of the moments I've had at STREB that was definitely a defining moment in my experience is the time that I broke my arm. We have a piece of equipment called, the piece is called Ascension. It's towards the end of the piece when me and my wonderful friend and brother Daniel Rysak are on one side of the ladder and two company members are on the other side of the ladder, and we've just spun the ladder as fast as we can make it go, which is charging and holding on for life and seeing how much you can take, slowly slowing it down eventually, that the two top people come off and it's just me and my brother Daniel Rysak on the bottom, swinging back and forth. The exit we had been doing forever was me going backwards off in a move called a ball table, just landing on my stomach, going backwards, up in a cannonball type of situation, opening up, landing, waiting for Daniel to then exit up over me. Then we did a bit of an exchange, and I'm under this rotating ladder that's rotating towards me as Daniel and I are doing the exchange. I had started to think about a different way of exiting off the ladder, a move called an around the world, which is similar to a backflip off of it, but you land on your stomach. Moves like that were never in my vocabulary, moves like a backflip or a back tuck or things like that, but with my time at STREB and my training and pushing myself and knowing things that I needed to get better at, to evolve myself in my own technique and push what I thought was possible, or moves that I just wanted to do, to keep up with my fellow company members and also to continue to challenge myself in my training. I had started to get comfortable with this around the world move. I was starting to see that window opening of going backwards and knowing that I had been in that time and space of ejecting off of the ladder that way. I knew the piece and the forces and amount of energy necessary to start to see that move become available to me, mostly a lot from my own head. So I'd been thinking about this move for a very, very long time. I started to find those pivotal moments where the ladder goes up and then goes back, that zero gravity moment just before your floor starts to come out from underneath you. The last step of it was just doing it, basically. So I started working on it, and I was in the spot and I was ready, and I waited just a hair too long. The ladder started to move away from me and I took off. And when I took off, I didn't travel backwards the way I needed to land on the mat. I went straight up in the move and then came straight down. Still did the rotation, but came down that I wasn't entirely over the mat. Everything below my chest from here landed on the mat. Everything up here didn't. I saw my arm in front of my face when I hit the ground, that it turned into a noodle. My arm literally went from a solid to a liquid. I had to have surgery on my arm. It's the first surgery I've ever had to have in my entire life. You can see right here that my arm had to be opened up, that I broke one of the bones in my arm completely, and several bones in my wrist and a few on this side, and had to have a steel titanium plate put into my arm with 6 screws. I became part machine. But the hardest part of the whole experience was just being taken out of the work, because you work so hard and you push and you feel the regret of not being able to be in there with your friends, because every performance is a battle for STREB Company members. Every performance is a fight to the end. And where the camaraderie comes in is where we all survive the battle and go through it together, and we know how hard it can be. And then when you have to pass it on to other people, like you have to fight my fight for me, is the hardest part. I've always felt bad about that. All of my friends had to, take up my workload. Every injury is a lesson. Every injury is a souvenir, I like to think, in the STREB Company. It took a long time to mentally get over that moment where you have those big scares at STREB, that something goes wrong. It's what is often not seen sometimes in our rehearsals and such like that, we prepare and we prepare and we prepare, and you can't prepare for those few moments that someone just takes off a little late, or someone misses it by like just that much, that it's the difference between your arm in one piece and your arm in many pieces. Eventually started working my way back into performing with the company, that my arm was feeling better. But that experience changed me a lot. It's one of those few moments that scare you when you do the work. And the hardest part sometimes is getting back on the horse. So the circle moment completely was when it got to rehearsing that piece again, and it got to that part, and I jump, do the exchange with Daniel, and am under the ladder. And Jamarius Stewart came over to me and said, "That's that moment. Like, you did it. You did it." He's like, "I saw it in your face. Like, you knew it was that moment." Even when I was rocking back and forth, first time back in that spot since it had happened, it was like a light bulb. It was like, this is when it happened. This is the moment when it happened. And I can either choose to let it absorb me and take me over, that I don't do it ever again, or I can let fear just be the detail and push through it and know I'm stronger and better. And it completed me inside. That was the end of my healing with that moment, was everyone, all of my friends, all of my family, company coming around me and hugging me, that I could break for that moment, that I did it, that I moved past it, that it's behind me now and could move forward. And it was a big circle moment for me, that anyone can get past anything, and you're not less than you were before it. You're just changed. You're just a little different.